going to come and do the anthem, and then we're going to have Dejon Curtis to come and do the introduction of our candidates, which we feel is appropriate because they both are youth, and the candidates are running to represent the youth of the community. Ms. Scott.
Cedric Floyd, and the second two candidates running for District 5 School Board members are Mrs. Dee Dunn and Mr. Simeon Dickerson. We hope that tonight you will receive the information needed to make an informed decision about what candidate to support. Tomorrow, October 30th, is the last day for early voting. Tuesday, November 6th is the day to make your vote count.
Thank you so much. And I would like to also introduce the panel that will be asking questions on today. And first we have Reverend Anthony Williams. And then next we have Ms. Deletris Jones. Curtis. Yes, she has that little hyphen. And also, we're going to be taking questions from the audience. If you have not filled out a form and placed it in the basket, I would ask you, if you do have a question, to make sure that you fill it out and put it in the basket that is seated to the back. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our.
Good evening. How y'all doing today? All right. All right. This question is for each candidate, and I believe we've spoken about the time limit for the questions. Okay. What are the two most significant issues facing Jefferson Parish school system today? Mr. Dickerson, you can start first.
No problem. Excuse me. No.
We're going to
let them do their opening statements. Yes. 3. We have 2 minutes for opening statements. Mr. Cedric Floyd.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor to serve you on the Jefferson Parish School Board. First elected in the 90s, got back on the board in 2008. And since that time, I've made sure, worked hard, that it's accountability for everything when it comes down to the school system. Making sure that the same quality education on the East Bank happens on the West Bank, in Metairie here. And I'm pleased to report, if you look at my flyer, as to the things, some of the things that got done since 2008. And when it comes down to most things on this flyer, have to take 5 votes of the board. So unlike what people think, I do get things done with at least 5 votes on the board. About me, married for 34 years, 3 sons, my twin sons, a product of the school system. I am. Also, when it comes down to education, all 3 of my kids have advanced degrees. Looking forward, the most important things before the Jefferson Parish School Board is pay for employees, to make sure that our employees are paid the same as the school districts next door. And also in Jefferson Parish, we have a very, very important problem in terms of educating all 3 and 4-year-olds that need it. So that's my number 1 priority, to make sure early childhood go to at least the 3 and 4 years. Right now is being handled by Head Start in pay. Thank you very much.
I would like to interject. I would like to interject that our timekeeper for tonight is Ms. Venus Williams, so when she raises up that letting you know that your time is nearing.
The first finger will be for 30 seconds, the second finger will be for 15 seconds left, and then
Good evening. My name is Dee Dunn. As you know, I'm a candidate for School Board District 5. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, and I live in District 5. I was educated in the Jefferson Parish school system, and so were my 3 sons and my 5 grandchildren. I was an honor student. I graduated from Grace King High School. I attended Southern University in New Orleans, where I studied in business administration. I also took a computer course in Delgado College. I do have law enforcement training. I'm a successful businesswoman. I retired from one company, and now I'm presently owner of Dee Dunn Trucking, Dee Dunn Properties. I am a Jefferson Parish law enforcement chaplain. I was the past chair of Jefferson Cops and Clergy Coalition. Under that organization, I had 32 churches. I was on the Crime Abatement Committee. I was on Lafayette Park Advisory Board, and presently I am on the East Jefferson Hospital Board. I'm a civic leader. I'm a fighter. I'm well qualified for this job. I'm an associate minister of the Newmont Bethel Baptist Church. I've always fought for the community, and I have a proven record of winning. I'm in this race to win this for our children. As I've said over and over, I'm tired of our children being low on the totem poles. Thank you.
Good evening. It's okay. I'm Simeon Dickerson. I'm a lifelong resident of Marrero. I too was educated in Jefferson Parish Public Schools until 8th grade, when I furthered my father's legacy of graduating from Archbishop Shaw. I graduated from the Southern University of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, attaining a degree in mass communications. Upon graduating from Archbishop Shaw, I immediately was placed into a position of educating at the Jefferson Parish Advent program, where I would also come home for summers to do the same thing. After graduating from college, after Katrina, I started teaching in 2006, and I haven't looked back since. Education has been my passion. It has been my calling since I was 17 years old. 38 years old, so I've been doing this for 21 years now. Everything about these children in my community, it means something to me, because I know that we will have to rely on them. For everybody in life, you have a turn. And it's my turn, it's my generation's turn to step up to the plate and to become our leaders and guide our future leaders like we have here today. Not only here, but throughout this parish, throughout District 5. I'm running in this race because I know that I can win. I'm running in this race because I know that I'm competent. I'm running in this race because I believe in my community, and my community believes in me. I'm never going to give up on it. And I'm going to fight this fight for the rest of my life, and I can promise you that it's something that I pledge forever, that I'm going to do the right thing by children, especially because we will need them. And I will emphasize that forever, that they can be anything, and I'm going to help lead and guide them.
Now we can proceed with our questions. I would also ask that no applause, because this is not a debate. It is a forum for the people to get understanding of the candidates and their platform.
Okay, so I'm gonna let the moderator say who goes first. but
This time, we'll let Mr. Dixon.
okay. But so the question is, what are the 2 most significant issues facing the Jefferson Parish school system today as you see it?
As a teacher, I can answer that question perfectly. The number 1 issue is not only teachers, but support staff, your cafeteria workers, your custodians, your bus drivers, their salary. It is not significant. It is not up to par. It is not competitive. And our incumbent has had over 20 years to make that right, and it hasn't happened. The second is our low scores, our test scores. It is, for me, embarrassing to watch the scores, watch District 5 be the lowest scoring schools the lowest scoring schools in Jefferson Parish. We've had ample enough time to get this together. We've had the resources, and when I say resources, we've had teachers in the community that's leaving this community, number one, because of salary, and number two, because they're not feeling supported. That's what's going on right now in Jefferson Parish School Board. In Jefferson Parish School System, that should be rectified immediately.
Same question, Ms. Dee Dunn.
The number one priority for me is the kids. I've said this throughout this election, that there are 7 elementary schools in this district. All 7 of these schools are C and below. That's very important to me because the schools, it's about education. If the children are not being able to read on the 3rd grade level, then how are they going to manage in life? When you look at the second important thing to me is teachers. Of course the teachers need a pay, the support staff. I've heard this throughout this campaign. I've had bus drivers come to me, cafeteria workers come to me, and others come to me. If our children and our teachers are not adequately the schools are not adequately being funded, or the classrooms are not up to par and their education is not where it should be, how are they going to manage in this life? Our kids are not just about playing football and music. We need some lawyers, we need some doctors, we need some engineers. We need all of this in our school system also.
Mr. Floyd.
Oh, good. Thank you. As I begin to say in my opening, the number one priority is early childhood education for children 3 and 4 years old, and really going to 0 to have the opportunity to go and get quality education. And next of all, pay. Only school board member, only somebody in Jefferson Parish that had the due diligence to be able to create a plan. It fell 484 votes November the 17th. Proposed another plan February 7th, and proposed a plan September the 11th. Only plan in town, and addresses all 7,000 employees to be consistently paid with other school districts. Thank you.
Starting with you, do you think that the teachers union has been an impediment or a help to the school system?
You say me?
You say Floyd.
No. Back to the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, yeah. The teachers, the JFT have been a tremendous plus for education in terms of that if their rank and file is in the classroom, then you need somebody to be able to represent your interests, come to the board meetings, keep up with the policies before the board and the budget, and to have the staff to understand it and to keep up with the school board. We are 50,000 students, 7,000 employees, and about $500 million. And being in the classroom, you cannot keep up with what's going on. So I led the effort to restore collective bargaining. It was terminated by the board in 2013. We brought it back August 11, 2015 with a 5-4 vote. It has helped tremendously. Thank you.
I'm definitely for the teachers union. But when I got into this race, as some of you all may remember, I ran in this race in 2000, over 14 years ago when Mr. Boudreaux had gotten into the race. That was an issue then. The union was also an issue. It is still an issue today. I am for the union because I believe in collective bargaining. My husband was union, so I do believe in the union, but I don't think they have made a lot of progress because in the forums and endorsements and all of that, they keep asking the same questions. Are you for the union? Will you fight for us? It's one thing to fight, and I'm a fighter, but it's another thing to win and to get these things done. And I haven't seen it yet, and they haven't either, because if they did, they would not keep bringing up the issue, are you willing to fight for the union? But because that issue keep coming up, they haven't gotten what they wanted from the union. I mean, you know, through the school board representative that have been fighting for that. Now, though he may be fighting, but he's not winning this race. And that's where I will make the difference, because I just don't want to fight, but I want to make a difference. I want to win this.
Being a teacher, of course, I support a teachers union because number one, they keep the administrators in check, also the board members, and make sure the board members are held accountable. They support the staff. They support teachers, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians. They make sure that they're treated fairly. And in the world, especially us, where we're not receiving equality, we need the teachers union. Not only do we need the teachers union, we need effective leaders in the teachers union. So of course, I support the union. I've been a part of teachers union, so I thoroughly understand what's going on with teachers union. We need to make sure that they understand what's going on and people aren't just being put as leaders of the teachers union that are friends of people on the board and things of that nature.
Before we move on, I would like to do some housekeeping rules. Can we please keep the conversation down while the candidates are speaking? That is very rude and it's also distracting. We're here to hear every candidate and we want to respect each candidate. So even though it's not your candidate, still let each candidate have quiet while they are answering the questions. Thank you.
Almost 10,000 certified and qualified teachers were displaced in the New Orleans public school system several years ago. These teachers were replaced by non-certified, non-tenured teachers. It appears that the same thing is happening in Jefferson Parish. Whereas certified and qualified teachers are gradually not being rehired by various principals, and less tenured, less qualified teachers are being hired. How can you, as our school board member, stop the same process from happening that happened in Orleans Parish school system from happening in Jefferson Parish school system?
I know that there are 3,180 some qualified or certified teachers in Jefferson Parish. If teachers are not certified, then I feel they're not qualified. And I think that to take the pay or to give a job to a teacher that's not qualified and hire her to pay her less money is a disadvantage to our children. So I'm not for that process at all, because I feel that teachers need to be certified. They need to be certified in education. And one thing that I learned on the trail was that some of the teachers were teaching math that they didn't even understand themselves. That's a total disadvantage to our children. So how are they going to teach something that they themselves do not understand? So I'm praying that that practice do not continue in Jefferson Parish. We need certified teachers and teachers that are certified to teach and understand what they are teaching in order for the children to understand what they're learning.
Mr. Dickerson.
Can you ask that question? I want to know, were you talking about specifically certified teachers or displaced teachers or just teacher retainment?
The question is asking, it says, almost 10,000 certified and qualified teachers were displaced in the Orleans Parish school system several years ago. These teachers were replaced primarily by non-certified, non-tenured teachers. It appears that the same process is happening in Jefferson Parish, whereas certified and qualified teachers are gradually not being rehired by various principals, and less tenured, less qualified teachers are being hired.
Okay, that goes back to what I just said earlier. It's about competitive pay. Okay, if a teacher can leave Jefferson Parish and work somewhere and make $10,000 more a year, that's a no-brainer. Of course that's going to happen. We should not only create programs to retain teachers, we should create programs to recruit teachers, to keep them here, make them want to stay, not be harassed by different board members, administrators, and things of that nature. I believe that with every job comes hands-on experience. As a teacher, of course, I know this. You're going to get different situations at different schools. You have to make sure that these teachers are happy, and the first way you start off is making their salaries competitive.
Next question, or do you want to interject?
No, I didn't get a chance to answer.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. The problem as stated, I don't know if it exists in the Jefferson Parish school system. Our principals try to get the best teachers they could get for high expectations and for kids to learn and for scores to be high. Act 1, July 1, 2012 came into place that gave principal the opportunity to select their staff. And with that, and the superintendent has the final say. I don't know if principals are not hiring experience because it goes from the general fund in terms of paying the teachers. So I don't know, it's been an effort to not hire experienced teachers. What has happened is that after 1, 2, 3, 4 years, they have transferred to St. Charles Parish for higher pay. So that's been the problem. And the pay difference is about $5,800 between St. Charles and Jefferson Parish that's being rectified with the plan. So I don't know that principals are targeting certain teachers not to be hired because every 3 years we have a policy that they have to be accountable for test scores growing. So I don't know about in terms of experienced teachers not being hired. Thank you.
Next question.
How many charter schools are currently in Jefferson Parish, and how are they rated?
Mr. Dickerson.
I believe there are about 4, I want to say, as far as their ratings. I'm not certain. I'm not certain about the ratings, but I do know that the doors just opened maybe 3 years ago. So their scoring and their ratings for an adequate rating, it should be coming out pretty soon. You can't rate a school on, especially let's use Smothers Academy for examples. I think that's a charter school. It's 2 years. They're just opening up in Jefferson Parish. How can you say, okay, we're going to just rate this right now, whether they're good or bad? From what I'm hearing good reviews on them. The Young Audience Charter School, I'm hearing good reviews about it, but as far as numbers, it's not in my district right now. It hasn't been my concern. You know, it's number one, the concern is the scores in my district. That has been extremely low, and these are traditional public schools, and they have been consistently extremely low.
To answer your question that I know of, there are 5 charter schools in Jefferson Parish.
Mr. Floyd.
Okay, good. As of this past school year, it was 6 charter schools. And what Mr. Dickerson talked about Smothers is not a Jefferson Parish School Board charter. It's a type 2 given out by Betsy. Our school board is authorized to give out type 1 and type 3 charters. And Celerity is type 3 when you go in and take the same students that the school had before, that Woodmid had the same, the district. So that lasted for 3 years. And because of that F rating, the school board rescinded the charter. The other charters in the school system, we regulate type 1 charters are Kinder Discovery, Rise, Laureate, Young Audience, and the Chamber. So this school year, 18-19, we have 5. Last school year, we had 6. And charters are regulated from get-go. If in fact that it's the test and grade, then the test scores are received. And I would say that Kinder Discovery has always operated outside the law. To be a charter, you have to be consistent with our same free and reduced lunch, and they have not been. But Rise, Laureate, Young Audience, and the Chamber, I don't think they're B-rated school charters. Thank you.
Our next question would be, can you explain to the public the difference between the public and charter school systems?
Ms. Dee Dunn.
The public school system are the schools that actually get money and from the state to whatever to operate. They are public. The charter schools are actually schools that are coming in and they saying that they have another plan. They can choose their students. They can choose who come there, their academics and things of that nature. So basically, the charter schools are more regulated on their own regulations, and the public schools are regulated by the things that they have put in line for the public schools.
Mr. Floyd.
As a school district, we regulate type 1 and 3 charters, and it's self-governing. They get our local funding and state funding and operate their school with their own board of directors. And they don't have to hire certified teachers, provide transportation, so they have their own little niche as to how they want to establish themselves. So with the charters that we have, Young Audience, located at Middleton School, is an art school. Rise and Laureate, Rise is a middle school, and Laureate is an elementary school. In the Chamber are for students that's 1 or 2 grades, 2 or 3 grades behind, that they try to catch them up. So a charter is when it's self-governing and they get state funding, our state funding and local funding to operate. But we do audit them, have oversight on them. They have to report to us, and we have a staff that goes out monthly to make sure that the students are selected like they should be and follow our rules. Thank you.
As both candidates just said, traditional public schools are governed by the school board in which we are running for, and charter schools have their own board of directors in which they're governed by. They receive state and local funding. I do know that they receive more government assistance than normal. You don't have to be a certified teacher to teach at a charter school. They also have specifics, whether it's the School of Technology, School of Arts, School of Humanities. These are how these schools are built up.
Next question.
Number 7. Have charter schools had an impact on private and parochial school in Jefferson Parish?
That would be me.
No, that would be Mr. Floyd.
Okay. That's a mixed bag. You know, since Katrina, more private parents have looked to the school system. We have advanced academies. I'm not a big fan of advanced academies. That have pretty much drained. If their non-public kids could get into the advanced academies, then they go, okay, into the school. Killer Discovery has had an impact on a few schools on the East Bank, but by and large, the biggest impact on non-public schools has been our advanced academies, that people from the non-public do come into our, 6 or 7 advanced academies. Thank you.
Mr. Dickerson.
I believe that anything that comes in that's new, most people are going to try it for just to give it a shot. I can't say whether it's impacted the private schools or not, but I can tell you that sometimes it gives the parents another option. And one thing about me, I am for parental choice. If you think this is going to better your child, then I'm all for it. So as far as it affecting private schools, traditional schools, of course it has, because it gives options. Some of them even give free uniforms. So when you're living in a parish where you're not, where even parents aren't being paid adequately enough, they're going to give it a try. They're going to give it a shot. And for some people, it works for them.
As far as the charter schools that I'm aware of, they really haven't been rated. So the actual impact of the charter schools are not out. It takes more than a couple of years to see if it would really impact the students or not. I believe in options mainly because I believe in education. I don't believe that one model fits all. Some kids need a little more here, or maybe a little more there. So I feel like with the charter school giving them an option, I think it's a good thing. But as far as my opinion, how is it rated, we don't know yet because charter schools really have not been rated.
Mr. Floyd.
Did I start up?
No, they haven't given.
Could you give me a question?
No,
I think you spoke on that question already. Next question.
Okay. I spoke first.
What is the annual Jefferson Parish School Board budget, and how is it funded?
that question goes to Mr. Dickerson first.
I've just heard it's about, I want to say about 500 million, and how is it's funded through the school board. And oh, this is phone. I'm sorry. It's funded through the school board, and it hasn't been funded properly. I think $500 million is a lot, and it's a lot if you look at different programs as far as getting teachers raises. Some of them can be, you can, what you do is you do a study on it to see if it's working or not. If it's not working, you take that money that you're using and you can put that to teacher salary, or you can put that to remodeling some of these buildings. It hasn't been used properly. It's not in District 5.
We need you to ask, the question itself is how is it funded?
It's funded through the school board.
Me? It's actually funded through the taxes, sale taxes and things of that nature. They're millages that, comes on the ballot and things of this. So it's actually funded through the state, through taxes, through millages and things of that nature. Also, certain businesses, they are taxed so much money in order to put so much money into the school system. There are things that come into the community, such as the casinos or whatever. They would even give so much money to the school board.
And do you know the budget? Do you know the current budget?
The current budget is, as it was said, over $500 million.
Good, yeah. I guess I answered that question when I did my opening. It's about 500. It's about $500 million. Local sales tax and ad valorem, which is millages, and also some federal grants. And then from the state, we have the MFP. It could be about 30–40%. You get, about $8,000 or $9,000, half of that from the MFP from the state. So that is how the school system is funded. From the state MFP, that's determined by Betsy, sales tax, ad valorem, and grants from federal government such as Title I, Title II funded. Thank you.
Is the system currently operating at a deficit or a surplus?
Is that from
That
you?
question is going to go to Dee Dunn.
It's currently operating as a deficit. What it is that there are monies that they put into the budget for certain things, like the emergency monies and things of that nature. So what happens in a situation like that is that they take money, they put it in different, once money is budgeted, monies are put there in certain places to go to certain things. For example, there's so much money that goes to salaries, there's so much money that goes for the upkeep of the building, there's so much money that's put there for emergency management and things of that nature. It's a very small amount that's in the deficit, but it is.
My question was, is it operating at a deficit or a surplus?
I said a
said
deficit.
It's actually balanced. So, and the fact that it's balanced, I would consider that a surplus, and but we really need to stop wasting the money on wasteful lawsuits and spending that isn't necessary that could possibly go to our teachers in schools.
Thank you very much. By state law, we have to have a balanced budget. And over the years, we have a fund balance, a rainy day fund. It's about $160 million. Now, what we did in the spring, we gave, $1,500 to teachers to help because we were behind in pay, and so much to the other employees. So we, by state law, we have to operate balanced budget. And I feel that when it comes down to it, our school system is in sound physical shape. In fact, we are the highest rated, double B bond rating because of our, I don't know if any wasteful spending that the board does. Lawsuits come and go. We have hundreds of liability lawsuits, all kind of lawsuits. Every year the budget for the lawsuits is $5 million. So anything related to lawsuits, that's typical within the budget. But anyway, get back to what I was saying is that that we have a balanced budget and a healthy rainy day fund. What we are short of is recurring funds for pay raises. So when it's recurring, we have to have a set dollars amount to be able to pay it. So over the last 10, 15 years, just say 2 years ago, we had $8 million more that we didn't spend in the current budget that went to the fund balance. Then the next year we had $12 million that was not all spent in that year. So anyway, we have a healthy fund balance. Thank you.
Do you think that the Jefferson Parish Chamber and Jefferson Parish Business Council has been an impediment or a help to the Jefferson Parish school system?
Okay, when it comes to education and business, when you say the question, are you asking as far as donations or just in general?
I'm gonna let you answer that as you find fit.
Okay, well, of course, any money that's going to be donated, any businesses that's willing to donate and come help out a school, of course, that's always going to be, it's going to be welcome. But when it comes to a business or any, the Jefferson Parish Chambers hindering any monies coming to the school system that's going to help them, then of course that's going to be a problem. So, of course, with me as a school board, I welcome especially local businesses to come work with different schools in the district to help them progress in the world that we're living in today.
Good. Thank you very much. Being a board member, I know from a board member standpoint and a board standpoint, I feel that the Chamber has hurt the school system because when the Chamber 5 took over in 2010, and that's when collective bargaining was terminated, and then annual dues had to be renewed every year. The Chambers are typically for charter schools, and I'm 100% for public education. And I still don't understand when they say certain, everybody should have a choice. I think the choice should be a certified teacher connecting to the student in the classroom is the best outcome. So being on the board for a long time, I don't know in terms of choice exactly what people are saying, that one school choices another. It's all about a certified teacher, experience, and connected to the students that they're teaching, make the best outcomes. And charters flick back and forth. Most of them fail in New Orleans, most of them fail across the country and reestablish themselves. And it's about taking money out of public education. That's what charter schools do, and the Chamber. Thank you.
When it comes down to charter schools, I would say this: I'm for education. Again, they may have some things in place that will help different students that may need help in certain areas in certain ways. Now, as far as the Chamber, we know that they deal basically with businesses. Now, when it comes down to business, we know that business operates us. I mean, it's nothing that we do outside of business. So to have the business people involved in education, I think that's a good thing. I mean, if you don't have businesses involved with the school system, because a lot of times they will come in and they will pick up some of the slack that is needed in the school system. They will do things like give grants and things of that nature. So I don't think that's a bad thing to have the chamber involved in the school system. I really don't.
When businesses look to locate in our community, one of the major factors that they look at is education. My question is, if you agree, do you intend to work with the Business Council in the Chamber of Commerce or other local business associated to foster an environment of collaboration among all significant team players? If you disagree, what role do you think these groups should play?
Of course, I would agree to work with businesses. And the reason I would agree is because this election is about the children. And you have children that dream and aspire to be business owners and successful entrepreneurs. And if they can look up to someone in their community to become either them or better, then why wouldn't I? I agree with that 100%. I also believe that there should be more business owners welcome into the schools just to inspire. This is what we need to talk about, the children and what's occurring with them. Right now, they're not seeing so many businesses within their communities, especially business owned by people that look like them. So I encourage more business owners within the community to come into our schools and create some type of liaison and coalition so that they can work with our students.
Mrs. Dunn.
Of course, I believe that the businesses should come into our schools because, again, if you're going to get an education is about providing for your family. How do you provide for your family without working for a business? So you really cannot leave them out of the educational system. Again, I know for a fact that there are businesses that come in, they set up certain things, they have people being trained even through VOTEC and all of this. So how do our communities operate without business? And so the businesses should be involved in education. I wholeheartedly believe that.
Mr. Floyd.
I also feel that the school system should work hand in glove with the chamber, with the businesses, to make sure that we have the proper millage established and passed to be able to pay our employees. So that's the chief role I see up and coming, that the chamber need to buy into a millage increase so we could be competitive with the other school districts that surround us. And when it comes down to businesses coming in, the primary job for a student is to go and get educated in the classroom. So it's very limited in terms of businesses coming in. They could do annual money for teacher appreciation, certain specialties or whatever. I see them doing that. But when it comes down to educating kids, it's the teacher educating the kid in the classroom, and that has nothing to do with the business community at all. Thank you.
In light of the recent outbreak of fights at L.W. Higgins High School between boys and girls and different gangs, what will you do as a school board member to allow parents to feel comfortable that their kids are safe? I have an additional part to that question. Once you finish this part of the question.
I think you should get to the core of what's really going on. As I've stated before, a lot of times in schools, fights don't necessarily start because of something that's happening at schools. A lot of times, things happen within the community. And I think when fights like that break out, I think that the principal, the teachers, the people that's involved, they should find out why these kids are fighting. It's not necessarily gang-related all the time, but sometimes things happen in the community and bleed over into the church. Into the schools. So I think it's vitally important, first of all, to find out why are they fighting. And I don't think that it should be ignored at the first fight. I think immediately when it happens, I believe the schools should get a handle on that immediately and find out why are these kids fighting.
How will you make sure that the parents are comfortable in knowing that their children are safe?
I like the idea of technology, and I know in the colleges, whenever there was a problem, most parents these days, or basically everybody, have cell phones. And I think a mass text should go out and let them know that the kids are fine in their class, that they are not hurt. There's not anything really going on where the kids are rushed to the hospitals or things like that. So I think you really need to use technology to make sure that these parents are aware. Because when things happen, remember, lots of parents are at work. They just can't take off and run to the school. So I think technology, sending out text messages or whatever, I think that's the best way to ensure that.
Mr. Floyd.
Thank you very much. Higgins, as well as all the high schools in our school district, they do, I think, a great job in terms of educating the kids and do the best they can to mitigate the fights. We have resource officers. Each school probably has at least about 50 cameras, and so much is brought from home in the neighborhood, gangs or whatever. So once it happens, I think that everybody's proactive to mitigate it, to see what's the problem. Counselors are sent in, extra police officers are sent in, metal detectors are sent in, and it's pretty tough because they bring it from home, they bring it from the community. We have to deal with it the best that we can, and we do. From Higgins to the other high schools on the West Bank, the East Bank, it's tough being in education when it comes down to the fights and what's going on. But I think that Higgins, as well as the other high schools, do a good job in mitigate when a fight happens. Thank you.
All right, well, culturally, here in New Orleans and on the West Bank, we don't have gangs, and that was not a gang fight. What happens is we need to limit the social media usage at school, period. That's what needs to happen. We need to hold our parents accountable. Not only holding our principals and teachers accountable, we have to hold our parents accountable. And that's what we're not doing. Everybody's kid has become their friends. And these kids are coming to school and they're afraid of anything. The first thing that they're going to say is they're going to get you fired, this and that. This is actually what's happening. That's why I know that I'm best for this job, because I've been doing this and I'm in the classroom. I understand. And how would I fix it? I would limit cell phone usage at school. I understand the way that time has progressed, we don't have house phones. But there has also been studies done to whereas schools that don't allow cell phones to cross the sill of the door, or they collect them before they go, the test scores are much higher. I know that's proof. You can Google it, as the kids say today. You can Google that. That's certain. When we talk about what we have in the schools, as a teacher, we don't know when a fight is going to break out. We don't. It can happen at any time. But I do know one thing, that we put our lives on the line because we don't know what these kids can sneak in, and we're there, especially bus drivers. They get them before they get to a metal detector or anything. But do we care about that? Are we talking about that?
Statistics have shown that a major indicator for childhood education development is directly impacted by parental support. If you agree with that, what is your methodology or plan to support that parent involvement?
That's for me, right? All educating starts at home. A kid should learn his ABCs, his or her ABCs. They should learn how to count at home. Once you learn the phonics of each letter And once you learn that 1 + 1 = 2, you are capable of learning. You have comprehension skills. Now, not all parents have finished school. With $500 million, I think we can find a way to create programs so that these teachers can come in and the parents can be educated along with the teachers. Why not? This is a community, and we need to come together as a community to make things like this happen. Create programs, create liaison programs so that we can touch with the recreation department. There are so many schools, there's so many resources within the schools that aren't being tapped into. That is a parent can come in and just talk. It's about communication. It's about keeping an open line of communication, being able to not only touch your principal, being able to touch your school board member, not only during election time. You should be able to touch them every day. I put my phone number on every card that I have out. You can call me. Anybody can call me. I'm ready to do this. You know, we're asking these questions, and I understand them. I'm willing to answer them. But it's about being effective and getting this job done.
I think parental support, I don't think we're doing enough to enact that. Now, what I mean by that, we don't really hold our parents accountable as much as we should. When I came up, the PTAs were very effective. Parents got involved. I think that when there is a problem, I think that the parent should know immediately whether that child is doing good or whether that child is doing bad. And I think that there should be more emphasis put on parental involvement. I think that parents, if there is a problem at school and these kids are having a problem, I think immediately that teacher should let that parent know. But I don't think we're doing enough in that area. I don't think that the parents are being involved enough. I went to every open house. Some of them was full, but they weren't not full enough with parents. In other words, if there were a couple 100 students, there were maybe 30, 35 parents. I think those open houses should have been full, and they were not. So I feel like we are not involving the parents enough, and that we should.
As sitting as a school board member, it's nothing in board policy or state law that we could mandate parents to do anything. I do believe also that education starts and at the home. And what happens is that the schools, the teachers, and the principals get blamed on the success of a student, and it's really all about home, because there are 168 hours in a week, 7 times 24, and we only have the kids Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, 40 hours. So if you take 40 from 168, 128 they're at home, at the playgrounds, on church services, and if the 128 is not helping the 40, that's the difference between a kid making it or not, how well that 128 is operating. Told that to the new superintendent, and he calls it now Project 128. That is measuring what goes on in a child's life outside Monday through Friday, 8 hours, 40 hours. That's the difference. Yes, I fully know I want to get parents engaged. I went to every parent-teacher conference, open house for my 3 sons, all 12 years. But you don't have that, and there's nothing in state law that you can mandate it. All the different programs they're talking about, I would think pie in the sky, because nothing you could hold a parent accountable to. Thank you.
As a school board member, what type of communication source can you help the schools to develop to allow for communications between the parents and the teachers regarding the progress of the students?
That question goes to Mr. Floyd first.
Yes, I feel that the school, the principal, and the teachers do a fantastic job informing parents when about grades, concerns. These days, when it comes down to emails are done, communications being done, but their primary job is to teach the kids throughout the school day, and they have planning periods or so. But I kind of, like I said, from my understanding, I'm pleased with the contact that the teachers make, the school make when it comes down to the kids. The difference if a kid makes it or not, what happens at the home, what happens with the 128, following up, reinforcing what the schools are doing, words, when a kid is 5 years old, they should know like 6,000 words, add to the vocabulary, but everybody blames the teacher, the school, the principal. We only have the kids 40 hours a week, and the other 128, which is 3 times that, is spent under the parent supervision. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I didn't understand what communication devices that you would implement for the parents.
Well, let me just say, when you say communication devices, we have a system when it's not one board member, it has to be a board policy as to how it's done. I know, as I've heard the two other candidates talk about I. As an individual board member, you have no power. It's the board setting policy. Like I said, we have adequate means to be in touch with the parents. When problems happen, we have a system, and when it comes down to grades, we send the grades home and have communication with the teachers. Thank you.
I think that's a lot of our problems that's going on. I think that they probably do have a policy in place for progress reports and things of that nature. There's policies in place for teacher conferences. And I feel like that these parents that do not come to either, or they need to sign off on the progress report, or they need to be there for the teacher conferences if that child is having a problem. Now, if the parents are not there, there may not be nothing on the book to make them be there, but that policy should be enforced that those conferences should take place with the parents. The parents are not in the classroom, so there's no way for them to know what's going on. That's that teacher's job. That's what they're getting paid for. They are getting paid to educate our children. If it's not working, then we need to make some changes and find out what we are doing wrong, and don't just let this stuff slide by the wayside. That's the problem with our with our school system now. Nobody is concerned about this issue.
Again, what communication things would you change?
I would not change anything. I would just enforce what's already there. I would enforce the progress reports, and I will enforce the teacher conferences. That's already there. Enforce what you have.
Mr. Dickerson.
Okay, the systems are already in place. What should be created is a parent liaison fund for each school in District 5. And you can start a District 5 parent advisory team, a District 5 student advisory team. There are programs such as J Campus, such as Google Classroom, that allows the parents constant communication with not only the administrators, but the teachers and paraeducators of each student. And every parent, when they register their kids, they're given passwords, they're given email accounts, whereas as a teacher right now with Google Classroom, I don't ever have to open a grade book ever. I don't ever have to grade any test ever for any kid, because when they finish it on the computer, it's done and it's automatically sent to the teacher, to the parent. It's sent to myself. It through numbers, they show where this child needs help. So the system is already in place. It's about using it effective and having our parents use it effectively. Now, what's the problem? We need to bridge the gap between back then and right now. It's 2018, and this world is progressing, and we have a lot of people trying to fight to keep up the ways of the old. But in order for us to progress, in order for our kids to progress, we have to move forward with the time and get someone that your parents can relate to. I understand what's going on in the classroom.
Are you for or against cameras in the classroom?
Totally against cameras in the classroom. However, if they need to come in the classroom, before you take this job, you're going to know they're there. You know, there are cameras all over the school, and to be honest with you, I believe that they're inside the classroom. But if you're doing what you have to do, you shouldn't have to worry about a camera being in the classroom. And sometimes it can be there to protect us as teachers as well.
I have no knowledge of cameras in the classroom, so am I for cameras in the classroom? It's not necessary. If it comes necessary, I'll be for it. So right now, they're not in the classroom.
I'm not against cameras in the classrooms. The reason for that, because again, like everything else, there are cameras everywhere. And I think that that will cut down on a lot of things that's going on. And you would know what's going on in the classroom. You would know if a child is really being disruptive. A lot of times when kids get into the office, if there's a problem, they're going home. Sometimes the child is saying, I'm going home unjustly. So I believe that if it's going to make a difference and make the classrooms better and safer, yes, I would be for it.
Would you support teachers having guns in the classroom?
Can I answer that? Not at all, because what's going to happen is it's going to be a dead black child, because somebody's going to feel threatened. We already live in a society where these kids are playing games like Fortnite, and they're becoming desensitized to what is actual. And we as parents, we allow our kids to play this. When I was coming up, of course there were guns and things of that nature, but we killed aliens on the game. We weren't killing people. And right now I'm watching 4-year-old kids play Fortnite, a game that actually, it's not only is it killing the person, it's graphic. Okay? This is being encrypted into our children's minds, and they don't care, they don't value their lives. And if we really understood what was going on in the schools, and how these kids really believe in this, what they're watching, what they're playing, what's entertaining them, what's babysitting them. While you give them their iPads and things of that nature and you do what you have to do, all you're doing is building a robot. So that goes back to that question about the cameras being in the classroom. Why am I not, I'm against it? Because it's creating a robot. We're creating kids that's living in a robotic society, and they're controlled by everything, and they don't have their minds. They're not free thinkers. That's what's not occurring in District 5. And I don't think that the current board member is even paying attention to that.
I'm totally against guns in the hands of teachers, because teachers are trained to be educators and not police officers. Even police officers have to be trained continually on how to use a gun or whatever. And I think that's a very dangerous thing. I think that that's something should not be displayed because of the fact that if there is an active shooter, the teacher is not trained. She gets the gun and the first thing moves, it may be a dead child. And I think that you're creating something that need not be created. So I'm definitely against a teacher having a gun, because again, they're trained teachers, they're not trained police officers, and they're not trained to shoot a gun.
The answer is no, I'm not for guns in the classroom. As being on the school board, knowing the duties and the responsibility of the school board member, an individual school board member does not have any authority. So as District 5 or whatever, you can't do anything. You don't police the principal, you don't police a teacher, or take responsibility or blame. So that's speaking as somebody that do not know the true responsibility of being on the school board in the policy, about knowing the budget, being an expert about that, knowing policy is in the law. And teachers teach, principals be the principal, and no board member can go into a classroom to enforce anything back and forth. So as I hear comments about what District 5 When you see me at the school board meeting, that's our playing field. Nothing else happens because we are not authorized to be in any school to do anything. So judge me by what I bring home at a school board meeting about some far-fetched responsibilities I don't even have as a school board member. Thank you very much.
Do you support metal detective searching of book bags and purses, periodically using drug sniffing dogs to weed out crime and drugs in all schools, similar to policies? The airport use them. So you think we should use some of those same things in the school because of the drug situation that we have in our school or among our school and children?
I'm for random searches and then we do it from time to time, unannounced. Sometimes dogs go into the schools to sniff. I am for metal detectors. We do handheld, and at sports events we do that. I think we should do everything we can do to protect every child that we can, to have a safe school. We have single point entry. Each school have over 30 cameras. We have a resource officer at just about every high school. We have the metal detectors or whatever. I'm for, back when I was first on the board in the 90s, I'm the one who introduced the uniform policy that you see all the uniforms and the clear book bag policy. So yes, I am for strong, safe schools that every kid go there and their parent know that they are safe to go and learn. Thank you.
I am for safe schools, and I am for definitely metal detectors and things of that nature. The reason for that, because when I came up, we didn't have the school shootings. We didn't have kids coming to school with guns and things of that nature. We didn't have the mass shootings, but we are living in a time now that this is almost the norm. There was a school shooting, I think, today. So if that's what it takes to make kids safe and their parents feel safe, make their parents feel good about sending their kids to school, yes, I am for it. I am for the metal detectors. And not only that, sometimes kids know what's going on with other kids. So if there are other kids that's bringing drugs into the schools to give to another kid, I think randomly, yes, they should check that, because once kids get on drugs, you're going to have problems in that school, in that classroom. That's just a given. So yes, I'm definitely for that.
Okay, I'm absolutely for metal detectors. I know that they do check periodically throughout the school for drugs and things of that nature. I don't think that it should be the dogs coming through so often, because it creates a culture of prison, and I don't think that students should go to school with that in their mind. When you drop your kids off at school, the number one thing that you're worrying about is safety. And my job as a teacher is to keep them safe first.
Well, at this time, this is going to conclude our panel questions, and we're going to go ahead and move along with the questions from the audience that has been brought to me, because earlier we did say if you had a question to write it out. And the first question is going to go to Mr. Dickerson. You will answer it, and it is coming from Ms. Davis, Mashika Davis. How long will you continue to allow academic segregation?
When you speak of the word segregation, we've been segregated against for so long. I will stand up to segregation at all costs, at all times, and I will fight continuously to make sure that our kids aren't segregated in no way, shape, form, or fashion. That I can promise you.
All right.
I would like to stop segregation in our schools. What they're talking about basically is that some schools get more stuff for some kids and less stuff for other kids. I believe in the equal opportunity for all kids, and I believe that all kids shall have the same opportunity when it comes down to what they should have in the classrooms for learning. So I think that this segregation really needs to stop, and I believe that equal opportunity for all kids should be available to all kids. So I believe that this is something that we really, really need to look into, where certain schools are getting more than other schools, and I think that that's something that should stop.
I guess as being the person on the school board, I don't know about academic segregation in the Jefferson Parish school system. We went from 2007 to 2011 under Dandridge, under the supervision of a judge that declared us unitary, that we open and transparent, and I don't know of a school getting more by race. Because what happened is in the 60s, you had crosstown busing, and now you don't when it comes down to attendance districts. So you have a few schools that just say predominantly white, predominantly black, because that's what is stationed geographically. But I could just tell you, my eyes are open as to the funding for each school, for each child. And funding is not based on race in the Jefferson Parish school system. So I don't know about, my two opponents are saying it. I don't know what to stop. I don't know what you're going to find. But the budget is transparent. I look at the budget. I know the budget as good or better than any school board member. And I could just tell you that I don't know if any segregation, because I would stamp it out. Thank you.
Well, just to clarify her question, she broke it down. She says when she is saying academic segregation, she is stating because you have the schools that are being built for gifted students, and every student is not an A student. So therefore, what is happening to the children that do not make the 4-point or 3-point, and they are being bused 20 and 30 minutes away from their home when there's a school 2 minutes from their house, but they cannot attend because it's for gifted students. So this is what she is saying is in academic segregation.
Okay, you want me to answer it again?
You can.
Okay, if for instance, like you said, a kid is being bused from 20 to 30 minutes away, we need to do whatever we have to do to not only make that kid comfortable, to place him in an environment so that he can succeed. That's what we're talking about with creating parent liaisons, so that we can help the parents, so that they can help their students to be put in the best situation to succeed. I am aware of what you mean now as far as the academic segregation, when we feel as though certain kids are being educated way better than another student. One thing that I do believe in is equality, and everybody deserves a chance at anything that they desire, especially if they work hard for it, and nothing should be given to anybody.
Right. I think academically, I know what you're saying, that there are most schools that are being built for the gifted students, and then it's going up and up. But I believe that every child in Jefferson Parish should be afforded the opportunity of equal education. And I believe that, and I don't think that we just should be building schools just for the gifted or just for the A students. Everybody will not be an A student. We understand that, but I think that they should have the same opportunity of other kids, and we're just spending our monies and time building these other schools where we should still put money into the schools where the other kids are going also.
Again, I'll answer. When I got back on the board in 2008, you already had the system of advanced academies that you had to score 85% on certain tests to be able to test to get in there with limited students per classroom. We have 8 advanced academies, and outside of that, you have neighborhood schools. So yes, if you live closer to Gretna Academy, and I'm not justifying then McDonald 26 or Douglas, You cannot go to Gretna unless you score on the test, unless you be in the top 20 of testing that year to get in. So we do have that system that I found there called Advanced Academy, Gretna, Ray St. Pierre, Rupel, Thomas Jefferson, Pat Taylor on the West Bank, Haynes, Airline Academy, in Metairie Academy, but that's Advanced Academies, and you get there by scoring a certain score on the test, and it's done nationally in terms of scoring, but everybody else go to neighborhood schools. So, and I don't know of children riding, Wagaman going all over to Higgins, Wagaman going to Ford is a long way, but I don't know if a student traveling 30 minutes, because the schools are neighborhood elementary schools, regional middle schools, and high schools. So that's how it is. I don't know if it's unfair being transported because of race. That doesn't happen in Jefferson Parish. Thank you.
The next question is coming from, I believe this is Ellis, and it's how are you going to make all schools advanced study quality? All schools, advanced study quality. Mr. Dickerson.
The way that we make the schools advanced study quality is today we have the resources, we have the money, we need to utilize them. As I was speaking of Google Classroom earlier, it's a way to hold everyone accountable from all standpoints. The same resources, the same internet that the students at Patrick Taylor, they're using that at Higgins, they're using it at Bonneville, they're using it throughout the parish. So it's there. When we were talking about teacher, the teachers, encouraging them, making sure that they're on point every day, encouraging the kids. And what happens is you create a competitive environment and you train these kids to not only compete with each other, but to compete with other schools, not only athletically, but academically.
I believe that every student should be on level, as I've said earlier, that if students cannot read by the third grade, academically, they cannot compete. So starting the kids when they're younger is what I have been proposing all along since I've gotten into this race, that we need to start early childhood learning. When you do that, when children can read on level and they are good at what they are doing, as they advance, they can only get better. And I think that this doesn't start when they're in high school. It starts on the lower levels. And I think that we need to put more funding. We need to put whatever it takes in early childhood learning in order for these kids to advance as they get older.
Thank you. Being proactive, I've proposed a pay raise for all teachers to be the top paid in the metropolitan area. Starting pay at $47,000, and that will eliminate or stop teachers from going to St. Tammany, St. Charles after they are trained. So once we do that, we'll have teachers coming back to us, and then what we need to do is that we have a system that experienced teachers go to the advanced academies, go to certain schools where the students are, they don't need the service as some of the schools, I guess in District 5 they're saying in terms of poverty. Yes, as part of the superintendent plan to offer a stipend to experienced teachers to go to certain schools as high poverty and to lend that experience. Right now they choose to go to Metairie Academy. They choose to go to and work at Patrick Taylor. And it is a plan working up to give them a stipend to go back to schools of challenge. And yeah, like I said, to pay them adequately that they won't leave the parish, and we could have experienced teachers in every classroom. Thank you.
Now, since you brought that up, there is a question from the floor that says, how long will you allow child nutrition workers to continue to only make $11,000 a year?
Okay. Is that everybody? Let me just tell you this though. I've been in the forefront with the pay raise that we did, 484 votes started. I'm a data person getting the report to see, and in my plan, I'm gonna bring it out. We are raising all child nutrition employees to over $15 an hour. And also, this is what I've done. I initiated, got over 5 votes aboard. Every employee, even who work 20 hours a week, get free dental, free vision, to help them have a standard of living. Also, I'm working to eliminate the 4-hour positions, so it could be 7 or 8 hours. We take advantage of those individuals by giving them 4 hours. We have 4-hour positions, 4-hour monitors position, and we are looking at combining jobs to give people at least 7 or 8 hours working who want to, and not just 4 hours. So that's being done. Thank you.
All righty. Did one of the candidates want to answer that?
That's appalling to hear that someone in 2018 is living off of $11,000 a year, as I heard from the audience. As a school board member on and off for over 20 years, the question said, how long will you allow? That's something you've allowed to happen. And it shouldn't be going on in 2018. And I can promise you that that will not happen under my watch. That's appalling. It's distasteful. And because why it should hurt more? Because every school that I've been in, all of them look like you.
I feel that this question came up 14 years ago. And 14 years later, you're still dealing with the same issue again. It is appalling, because I'm sure that you can't feed your family.
Can we have quiet, please? Please.
I'm sure that you can't feed your family off of $11,000. Now, because of this election, it has been brought up, well, you know, I'm fighting to get this. Well, you've been fighting 10 years, and we still don't have it. So I feel that right now, they are due a raise. And I feel that just fighting for a raise and getting a raise is two different things. And fighting for 10 years to get the raise and a raise have not happened. I will definitely fight, without a doubt, to make sure that these support staff workers will get more money, because the money is there in the budget. The problem is where the money is going.
All righty, the next question is, District 5 is at the bottom of the district based upon school performance. What are you going to do to improve their standings?
To improve their standards, what we should do is we create different teacher-based incentives, of course, have them travel into different programs, create different programs within the school so that we can coach our teachers as we coach our students, educate our teachers, create relationships with these universities through different grants and different funding that can get teachers back into school. I know myself, for one, it's expensive. It's expensive to go back to school. But if we can work together, create programs with these different universities, especially online. If you're looking online, there's all kind of opportunities, but we need to make sure that our teachers are allowed to do this so that we can get top effective teaching.
Any other candidate would like to answer that question?
I know for a fact from speaking to people that work in the school system, and that is that a lot of the teachers are teaching certain math and things that was proposed, that these people are not there, that they do not have the knowledge of what they're doing. So how are you going to raise the standard if the teacher don't know? So I feel like the teachers, they supposed to go back and they are supposed to learn certain programs like in math. Well, again, how can they teach it if they don't know it? How can they raise the standard if they don't know it? So I feel like we need to go in and find out where these teachers are lacking in order to lift the standard up. But if we don't know, if nobody is looking into that these teachers really don't know, then I think that's not a very good thing for the school system. So in order for the standard to be raised, the teachers need to know what they're teaching.
I guess sitting in the seat, it's easy to blame me for everything, a single board member for everything, and it doesn't work that way. Let me just say this: when it comes down to principals, teachers, the staff, they do a great job, hardworking, helpful to each student as a whole. So I'm not going to blame the teachers and the principals at the schools. They want kids to learn. I don't know of any school as a whole that do not want kids to learn and do the best that they could do. What we need to do is raise the pay, because if our teachers are so bad, they won't be recruited to St. Charles and St. Tammany Parish because they don't know anything based on what they're saying. We got some good teachers. The teachers do go off to the other school systems for more pay. Pay the teachers, and we need to connect with the 128. That's the home. That's the weekend, that's the night, that's the food, to get that to work better, because the 40 is working no matter how good the 40. If the 128 is not helping it, and that's the difference between kids make it or not, the home life. Education starts and ends at the home. And we can blame the teacher, the principal, whatever. We only have them 40 hours, and that's including bus back and forth is the 128. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is, how are you going to protect our children and our staff members of Jefferson Parish School District 5 from harassment, whether it is sexual or bullying?
You want me to answer that?
Anyone that wants to answer it.
I'll defer to Mr. Floyd.
We have adequate policies in place.
All righty. Does anyone else want to answer?
I think you need to enforce what's in place.
We should, of course, enforce what's in place, but of course that goes to your character and what you believe in. And harassing someone, creating uncomfortable work environments, that's just not the way that I was raised. It's not what I believe in. But I was expecting Mr. Floyd to expound on that because he has some experience with that.
Okay, we're not going to do that.
No problem. I don't have any experience in it. No code of law, no nothing, zero, and I have not harassed anybody. So what happened, let me explain. You got on January, when Mark Morgan became president, he rammed fast to settle a lawsuit that should not have been settled because the judge threw out 90 of the 94 allegations, and the next 4 was getting set to throw out. So he hurried and settled the lawsuit and say, hey, we settled the lawsuit, but it was a bogus lawsuit, bogus claim, because what the issue was about Mike Fannin being paid $3.9 million to be exposed. I have never harassed anybody in my life. Thank you. And no court or no police has ever said so. Thank you.
500 phone calls does.
No, you don't know, son.
Excuse
That was
me.
text messages during work time. You know what? Everyone
Mr. Floyd.
was business because you know what? If I did anything wrong, it would be exposed on TV. Zero anything wrong. It was working. I work hard.
Excuse me, Mr. Floyd.
No problem.
Okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to go back and forth. We're going to answer the questions and we're going to remain professional. The next question. Given the problems occurring at L.W. Higgins High School, how will you offer assistance to the administration? Mrs. Dunn, answer that question, please.
I'm not really sure what caused the fighting at Higgins. I'm really not, because I don't think that they have publicly put that out. I don't know whether it was something that going on at the school or something that's going on in the community. But what I would do, as I've said, whenever a fight, students begin to fight, I think as a school board member, you need to visit that school and you need to find out what is the core of the problem, and then you work from there. But I can't really address Higgins because I really don't know what caused the fighting at Higgins. I can't speculate. I can't say it was gang. I can't say it was a girl, you know, because sometimes there are fights over boyfriend, girlfriends. You're talking about high school. But I think as a school board member, I would visit that school. I would go in and I would try to get a handle on that as soon as possible.
Okay, we're going to do 2 more questions, but I'm
Can I
going
answer?
to give you the opportunity
Yeah,
to answer.
let me just say this. It's not a role of a school board member to go in and do anything at a school, out of bounds. What happens is we have policies and we empower the superintendent to do as necessary, from adding more police officers, central office staff, hearing officers to go there and assess the situation. When things happen, they are handled, and they are handled successfully, move on to the next situation. So it's so easy. As I deal with my 2 opponents, they don't have the slightest idea what exactly the role of a school board member getting paid $800 a month. So you can't even feed your family. It's a service that you do. And you're not full-time. You're not supposed to be heard from every day by the principals, the superintendent, whatever. You meet once a month or twice a month, then on committees. But to interject into schools is out of bounds. Thank you.
You're right. Getting paid $800 a month doesn't feed a family. That's just under $11,000. To be honest with you, when I made the decision to run for this, I decided that the constituents, I would be there for them. I would be transparent. I would make sure that they can put their hands on me. If I'm going to represent schools, I need my face to be there at least bi-monthly. There's no exceptions. I need to be at the open house. I need to be at the quiz bowls. I need to be at the athletic events. I need to be transparent with my parents, and I need an open door policy. I don't need to just show up during election time. And that's what I won't do. I'm already a part of this community, and everybody in this community knows me. And they know that I am a stand-up guy. That's the way my father raised me, and that's what I will continue to be.
The next question is, currently in Jefferson Parish schools, students do not have books to bring home in core subjects. How will you work with the schools to make sure that students have books to bring home in core subjects? Mrs. Dunn.
I feel like that's imperative, that students should have books in schools. That I know of, they run copies and they send these copies home. So the students will only look at the copies that they have. I think that policy really needs to be revisited. And I feel like it is very imperative that students have books. And I know that I was applauded to find out that there are many students that do not have books, that they only get run-off copies every day. So that means to me, if you have a run-off copy, then you're only going to go as far as those copies are. But I know when I was in school, to be advanced, we would go whatever, we would take care of that homework and then get to the next. To me, this is not a very good policy. That's one of the things I would like to work hard at, putting textbooks back into the school.
Does any other candidate want to answer?
When you talk about a textbook, I think that books are not only essential to the classroom, they are essential to homes. These children, they need books. They need to learn how to cite what they're reading. I understand that they have the e-books and things of that nature. They have the iPads, which you can read books on, and I'm all for that. But if a school doesn't have books, of course, the principal, I believe, should believe that this is a problem. And the only place that they can bring their problems is, once again, to the school board. And the school board has to find a way to make sure that every student not only has a computer, but has books to bring home. They should be able to have different reference points for what they're studying. You have your computers, you have your iPads, you have your books. It only sharpens them. It only makes them smarter. So I think that every school in Jefferson Parish should have a book, and that books in each subject, not only core subjects, and I'm going to fight for that.
Now, this last question. The rating system in Jefferson Parish was recently changed. Can you explain the new system?
The reading system?
Rating,
Rating as far as?
the rating system.
As far as the school, as
Yes,
far as the
as
schools?
Any one of you all want to answer that?
Is it, who's it for? It's,
Mr. Floyd, go ahead and answer that.
It's all good. When it comes down to rating, that's through Betsy. Scoring, rating, if we're on a 200 scale, 150 scale, they have curved the grades. So, and every year is different. So this year, when the grades come out, I think November the 7th or 8th, 2 days after the election, the grades are going to come out, and then at that time, we're going to see exactly the grading system, which will be different from last year, and also the curve in the grades. So Bessie has had their own finesse, and from year to year, as to how all schools in every parish is rated. But it's going to have to be a system that encompasses all public education schools throughout the state. So they do that. You don't know until after the grades come out and it explain in terms of exactly what curve and what grading system that's being used. It changes from year to year.
I think it should be the same across the board, but the problem is with it is that they keep changing it up. And so by the time the rating system comes back from the school from this year or that year, they have changed it. I think it should be the same across the board.
I was honestly waiting on him to answer that question. When you're talking about the ratings, a lot of the ratings, as Ms. Dunn said, they're changed every year, okay? And they're based upon different schools in different areas across the United States. Is it fair? Could be. I don't believe that it's fair. I don't believe that it's fair because you're basing this upon kids in schools that come from sustainable households that aren't living in poverty. You know, we have a large amount of our kids that are living in poverty and aren't afforded the same rights to or the same consistency inside of a home to be successful within schools.
Okay, and I did say that we were only gonna, but I do believe that this question needs to be asked, and it says, do you think that the new pushing students along system should continue to stay in place in our schools? Because, and what it is saying is, do you believe that pushing students along, in other words, knowing that the child has not learned what they
no
need
child
to-
left behind?
Yes.
Okay, that alludes to what I said earlier, that nobody should be given anything. You should work. I know that's the way that I was taught. You should work for whatever you want to attain in life. So once again, I've been doing this for 12 years. And what happens when we push kids along, yeah, they may graduate from high school, but they stop really caring in 3rd grade. And they were pushed through 12th grade. So what do we have here now? We have a 3rd grade education. An 18-year-old, and that 18-year-old, more than likely, they're going to go make some more kids, you know, and that mentality is going to be brought back down to our kids. So, no, I do not believe in that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I think that all kids should be pushed because all kids can learn.
Again, it is a known fact that early childhood development is very important. And I believe that if those kids are reading on level at 3rd grade, then they would do better as they get older. But if we don't catch them in the lower grade, they are not going to do better. And just pushing them out is not the answer, because keep in mind where you're pushing them to. You're pushing them out to the real world. And I think all kids should have an equal opportunity to be able to learn, but I believe that you should catch it in the lower grade and not just push them out into the real world and then they can't make it for this cause. If they get to that point for this cause, they are just not going to do better. So I think that what we should do is what I've been saying all along, catch these kids when they are young and make sure that they are able to read on level by the 3rd grade. Because once they get up, what you are saying, just push them on out.
All righty, we're going to get ready to go into our closing statements. And we would ask that your closing statements would limit it to 3 minutes. But I do want to ask each candidate this question. Are you aware that the Bunch School does not have a library? And we have some audience members that feel that it is imperative that that school has a library. So what can you do to help to make sure that all schools have libraries?
Let me just tell you this. Within the last 2 weeks, I was talking to Ms. Bobby Lewis, who's a community leader in Lil Forms, and we immediately went unannounced. Bunch has a library. Whoever is saying that have not visited Bunch. Bunch has a library, fully staffed, fully funded, with a librarian. I was just at the school. They had trunk or treat. I think could have been Friday night. Showed Ms. Bobby Lewis that Monday or Tuesday. Bunch has a library with books, and it's staffed. So find out. Go to the school tomorrow and ask the principal to let you see the library for whoever's saying that. Bunch has a library. Okay, so I know that. So that's it should be case closed.
All right. Now we're going to allow closing statements, and we're going to allow, it's going to go from Mr. Floyd to Mr. Dickerson to Mrs. Dunn, okay? 3 minutes.
As your school board member running for re-election, I understand and know what it takes to be a Jefferson Parish school board member. Many things my opponent says got nothing to do with the Jefferson Parish School Board in my duties as a school board. Got the pay raise proposed, got our schools reopened, got Lincoln, didn't want to build it up to 8th grade, and I'm working toward it being back at high school. Pay for all employees, expand early childhood. That's the things what a school board member does, not the things they're talking about. When you see me at the school board meeting, that's the judgment of a school board member getting things done. Unlike they say, I have the best and the longest record of any school board member over the last 4 years getting things done. That means 5 votes. From bringing back collective bargaining, authoring legislation for free vision and dental, STEM schools in my district's first 7 classroom building at GT Woods, a master plan, and now coming up May 4th, new schools will be in the black community because we never used to do that as a school board, at Westminster, at Washington, at Saintville. That's the things that a school board member, I don't know, it's good what they say, but it has nothing to do with being a Jefferson Parish school board member, calling things to order, being accountable. The business community is never going to give me any money because you know what? They don't like public schools. Period. So I got my record and the things that I'm going to do. Keep me on the job working for you. I'm experienced and know how to get things done. Thank you.
Okay. The reason why you should vote for me, because number 1, I am a teacher. Number 2, I believe in your kids. I believe that every student can learn. I believe that every student is capable of learning. Unlike my opponent, I will be your friend. I will be transparent. When we talk about progression in Jefferson Parish, we had the first black African American superintendent who was a friend of this community. That's no longer the superintendent because of the incumbent. That, to me, is equivalent to black on black crime. I need you to know that I'm going to be here. I'm going to forever dedicate my life to this community. and I'm going to be a friend. I want you to know that everything that I tell you that I'm going to fight for, I'm going to fight for it. I want you to know that our test scores are going to rise. They're going to come up, okay? It's going to happen. I want you to believe in me because I believe in my community. Thank you.
Thank you the opportunity to be heard. As I've said when I got involved in this race, was that it was really predicated on what's really going on. And that is, in the black community, our schools are rated C and below. Now, if the current school board representatives say that that's not his job, then who is he representing? Because again, the representative is representing these 10 schools. Understand where we are right now. If we don't get a proper education, these jobs that pay money will not be hiring us. We won't be lawyers, we won't be doctors, we won't be engineers, we won't be in a position of even owning our own businesses. How can we ever move forward if we're going to remain in the schools that are a C and below? My opponent has had 10 years to bring these schools up. That has not happened. I'm a leader. I don't just fight. We've been in Afghanistan fighting since the Bush era. But think about it. We're just fighting and we have wounded soldiers. That's what's happening on the board right now. We are just fighting, and that's all we're doing. But it's more than just a fight. It's about winning, but it's about winning for our kids. I'm a leader. I know how to get along with people. I have board experience. I know how to work on a board. I'm not just going to sit there and argue with the other board members and take down every superintendent because I'm not in control. I need to work with them to make sure that our children are raised to a higher level. That's not happening. And I think the politics of the past is just what it is, the politics of the past. It's time for a change. It's time to vote Dee Dunn.
All righty, we want to thank you all for coming and joining us and answering the questions. We appreciate your time.
Next year, so we will be active in our communities, and we will be active with these candidates. We will hold them liable for everything that they said up in here today. You can watch this, and you can go back and watch it as many times as you need to on NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com, or you can go on Facebook, the same name, New Orleans Talk Network. Y'all please remember, early voting closes tomorrow, and y'all can go out to the polls on the 6th and cast y'all ballots. Let's get as many people out there to those polls as we can, and let's represent for our parish. They don't have any books in school.
No.
We are aware of that, my sister. Trust me, we really deaf about that. We cry. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.